Welcome back to the Hagee Hotline. The most talked about documentary this year is titled Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party. It opened in theaters just a couple of weeks ago and is making waves all over the country. Take a look.
The Democrats are the party of economic opportunity, social justice, and racial equality. That's their pitch. But is it true? Who are these Democrats?
It really goes back to this idea of social engineering and social control. In America, we called it progressivism. Soviet Union, they called it communism.
The whole purpose of the Democratic Party was to reestablish white supremacy.
The Democrats support slavery, while we Republicans oppose slavery.
To the Democratic Party.
This Civil Rights Act will allow colored men to sit at the same table beside the white guests.
The racism continued well into the 20th century.
We gotta give them a little something, but not enough to make a difference.
Sometimes the violence intensified, other times the racism merely changed forms. Almost everything they did had a racist motive.
While Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, the Clintons took hundreds of millions of dollars from foreign entities.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
She looked very menacing. I was really frightened.
I didn't see any reason to keep them.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
Imagine how much worse things could get if these two depraved crooks returned to the White House.
Joining us now is the man who made the film, Dinesh D'Souza. Mr. D'Souza, thank you for joining us today. I've admired your work from reading your earliest publications and books, and now congratulations on the success of this film. What's the most difficult part about making a movie like this?
Well, I've been a writer for most of my career, and writing a book is an intellectual exercise. You lay out an argument. A film is different. A film is a story. It's a narrative. And people go to the movies not really to get messaging or not even to learn. They go to movies to be entertained. And so we've made a very entertaining film, almost modeled on a detective thriller. Since Hillary is the topic, there are elements of horror, I have to admit. But in any event, it's at the end of the day an inspirational film, a film that has people standing up in the seats and cheering. I'm very proud of having made this movie, Hillary's America.
Well, I've heard wonderful things about it, and indeed, the information is very compelling concerning the nature of the entire movement of the Democratic Party, its history into its recent past and now its present and potentially its future. What is it that viewers need to know about what they're going to see when they sit down to watch Hillary's America?
The movie takes on not just Hillary, but the whole progressive movement and the Democratic Party. Now, the Democratic Party purports to be the party of the ordinary man, of the little guy, of immigrants, of minorities, of blacks, the party of emancipation and civil rights. Now, I show in this movie that is a big lie. The Democratic Party is actually the party of slavery, of segregation, of Jim Crow, of the Ku Klux Klan. The Democrats fought against women's suffrage for 30 years. They lost in Congress and they fought it in the states. They lost again. In the 1930s, the Democrats were in bed with fascism. Young JFK was praising Hitler. FDR admired Mussolini. And all of this has then been covered up because after World War II, the progressive historians go, whoops, we don't really want this in the textbooks because it's going to make our team look bad. So let's just leave it out. So what we do is we take history, not controversial history, but undisputable history, And we show that the Democrats have actually been the deadly enemy of the ordinary guy and the outsider and the immigrant. And I think blacks who saw this movie would be deeply shocked.
Now, recognizing all of these facts of history, not just revision or revised history, but the facts of history, what in your mind would be the most frightening thought of Hillary Clinton becoming the president of the United States?
Well, Hillary, I think, is different than Obama. Now, both of them studied under Alinsky, and they have a certain there's some commonalities between them. But at the end of the day, I think Obama is ideological. He has an ideological view to remake America, as he called it. I think it's a twisted, perverted ideology. He wants to reduce America's wealth and power. But that's his ideological goal. With the Clintons, it's more like Bonnie and Clyde. I mean, these are two crooks who have been running rackets since the Arkansas days. I mean, they were figuring out how to make money on the side. Then they get to the White House. They're renting out the Lincoln bedroom for money. They're lifting curios and pictures off the wall when they leave, being forced to return some of it later. They sold pardons to big-time racketeers, tax cheats, and felons. And then when Hillary was Secretary of State, it was more of the same. So how did the Clintons think about it? These guys have gone from zero to $300 million on a government salary. Wow. Is there even a legitimate way to do that? No, they've been on the make.
Well, in your work, The Roots of Obama's Rage, you pointed out a number of the things in his personal past that fueled his considerations for why he wanted to change America. With the Clintons, it would appear that the end game is just personal gain, but where does that leave the United States of America if what they're willing to do is anything and everything that benefits themselves?
It leaves us vulnerable both on the domestic front and on the foreign policy front. I mean, even with Benghazi, I think the reason Benghazi happened is not because Hillary is incompetent or she just overslept through the 3 a.m. phone call. These people are always trying to figure out how to make money on the side. It's like people who are robbing Fort Knox. You can't come running into them and say, hey, there's something going on. People here, their lives are in danger. They go, leave me alone. I'm robbing Fort Knox. So this is how the Clintons operate, and we show in the movie that Hillary got this racketeering style from Alinsky. We think of Alinsky as an ideologue. He wrote the book Rules for Radicals. We show that he was actually a petty thief. He was a gangster. He got in with the Al Capone mob. He admired the way that the mafia could extort money from people. The only downside was mafia guys sometimes got knocked off. And so Alinsky goes, hey, how can I transfer these lessons to politics where I can be an extortionist, but I won't get knocked off? And it's really remarkable to think that the current president of the United States, Obama, and the aspiring next president, Hillary Clinton, are learning their trade at the hands of a racketeer and a gangster.
The childhood fable of the emperor having no clothes. The individual who points out the fact that the emperor actually isn't wearing anything, he comes under great scrutiny. Well, here you are in the United States, involved in media, involved in programming and broadcasting, and you're pointing your finger at the Democratic Party and pointing out their faults, their obvious faults. How have they responded?
Well, 4 years ago when I made a movie blowing the whistle on Obama, they came after me, they unleashed the FBI. They found me guilty of a technical violation of the campaign finance laws. I spent 8 months locked up overnight in a federal confinement facility on the Mexican border. But look, I took those experiences, I learned from it. I actually put them right in the new movie. It becomes part of the story of discovering Hillary's America in a weird way by hanging out with hoodlums and criminals and learning about how gangs and how they operate, their rackets, their shakedowns. It expanded my angle of vision, and I now understand better how some of those criminal activities are going on in politics.
One of the things that the Democratic Party does, and does it rather well, is they take behaviors that they've used themselves and they try to indict others in using them. For example, they have a lot of special interests that fund a lot of the projects that they work on, and they've said, well, who's funding Dinesh D'Souza's films? How does someone put together the capital to make a movie like this and do it so well? Is it just a grassroots movement in which you invest yourself and your time and your personal effort in?
Well, happily, I've made 2 movies, which are the number 2 and number 6 most successful political documentaries ever made. I get small investors to put up money, about 25 of them. And then when I give them their money back, they're happy to do it again. So I call it recycled philanthropy, in which the same dollar goes around the block more than once. You're quite right about how the Democrats try to put blame on others, even for their historical crimes. One reason people don't know about them is the Democrats take the crimes that they did, things like slavery and segregation and lynching, and they say, oh, the South is to blame, or America is to blame. America did this and America did that. Well, if America did it, it would still be going on. Obviously, some Americans did it, and other Americans stopped them. And time again, it's the Democrats who are complicit in the worst atrocities of American history, and the Republican Party, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, has been trying to stop them.
So you're telling me that the way you fund your movie is through this incredibly insane idea called capitalism: investment, work, return.
Exactly. We put the movies in the market like any other product. We do well in the theaters. We do well in DVD. Our investors aren't trying to get rich off of these movies. They recognize that documentaries are there to provide information, but they're happy to get their money back so they can do it again.
Well, sir, I not only applaud your efforts in the execution of the work you do, but considering what you've endured for the work that you've done, I applaud your courage in continuing to do it. You're doing a wonderful job, and may God continue to bless your work.
I really appreciate it. If I may say so, Hillary's America, themovie.com is the website. You can watch a trailer, plug in your zip code, and it'll tell you where the movie's playing near you.
Thomas Jefferson made the statement that if America is to stay free, it was the responsibility of every citizen to stay informed. Hillary'sAmerica.com is a place where they can stay informed. Thank you, sir.
Hillary's America, themovie.com.
Themovie.com. We'll make sure we post it properly.
Thank you.